The first round of the 2024 NBA playoffs has come to an end, so now it is time to do my review on all the games that happened. I'm going to go pretty quick with them. I have a couple points for each game and, little things I'm going to talk about. But yeah, before we get into that, there's only one thing we need to do. Let's hear that intro. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another What's Next on Basketball YouTube video. I'm your host as always, Jeremy, and as I already said in the intro, we are doing a review of round one of the 2024 NBA playoffs. And overall, this was a pretty good first round. We saw two teams get swept, we saw a game seven, we saw arguably one of the best playoff series in NBA history. And we saw some surprises and not so much surprises. I'm sure you know which games I'm talking about. But yeah, as I said, I'm gonna go through all the games. I'm gonna go through all the teams and like what they did during the games, and what I liked and didn't like about them. As I said, I have a couple things here on my phone. Oh, you can't really see it; it's so bright. But yeah, just pretend you saw that there's notes on there. So yeah, without further ado, let's move on to the first game. So in the first game that we're talking about is the Timberwolves versus the Phoenix Suns. The way I wrote down all this is that I went by the teams that finished their games first, like their series. So obviously it was the Timberwolves that finished it first. They ended up being the Phoenix Suns. 4-0 was the series. So they were able to sweep the Suns. And on here, like I said, the first thing I'll talk about is Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards, so far in this playoffs, has shown that he is definitely the guy. He has shown that he is a great player. He's definitely the franchise player for the Timberwolves and looks to be potentially maybe one of the greats when it comes to the Timberwolves franchise. He's only 22 years old and he's already doing incredible things. If I'm not mistaken, I think that series he averaged like 35 points was like his average. He did incredible against KD. I know he said how KD was one of his favorite players, if not his most favorite. So obviously that was cool for him, to be able to face off against him. But yeah, overall, he was just doing incredible. He easily beat the Suns team and made them look like a joke, even though they were already a joke to begin with. But it happens. Also, when it comes to the Timberwolves, obviously, they showed why they're one of the best defensive teams in the league right now. I think they were top 3 in defense this season. And yeah, they just were able to shut down the Suns every single game. And it was just, great to see. Obviously, I already said, talk about the swept 4-0. That was definitely not something I expected during this series. I thought the Suns were at least going to get a game or two. I thought it was going to go to 6 games, but that obviously didn't happen. Rudy Gobert, obviously, from what I've seen when he was on the Jazz, I didn't really like Rudy Gobert, and I told you guys all about it. I didn't think he was a good piece for the Timberwolves, but he's proven me wrong time and time again being on this team and has shown why he should or could win Defensive Player of the Year this season, and he's just done really, really great. I'm happy to see that. I'm happy that he's working out with them. Karl Anthony Towns, I'll also mention, I feel like he's done a great job with this team, knowing his role. Of course, he used to be the main guy on the team, but since Edwards has been here, he's realized, okay, I'm not the only guy that can score for them. So, he's been doing a great job just letting Anthony Edwards do his thing, take charge. I kind of see him, I'm sure everyone else can agree with this, that Cat is probably the number 2 on the team, and I think he knows that too. He doesn't seem like he cares anymore when it comes to not having the most points. Of course, there's many games when he can have the, most points on the team, but, he's just doing his role, and I think that's great. I think it's great that everybody on the team knows their role and just knows how to get it done, because clearly they've been doing a great job at it. Now I have a couple things here for the Suns that I'll mention. First thing is I wrote down here big three failure. I think this has been a overall a very disappointing season for the Phoenix Suns, and as someone like me who well, let's just say I had them pretty high up on my prediction stand-in list way back. I think I had them top 3. I thought they were going to be a really good team this season, but yeah, they proved they just didn't do good. My other thing is like, what will KD do? I know KD is one of those stars where he's at the end of his career and he's just really trying to win more championships because obviously a lot of people don't look at his 2 that he's won. I think it's 2, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 2 that he's won with the Warriors. And people just look at it and they're kind of just like no one cares, no one respects the championships he won because again, there's so many reasons why as to why they don't, respect his championships, but I'm not going to get into all that. All I'll say is that KD's been really trying to show that he can win without Steph, and I don't think he'll ever be able to run away from that shadow because time and time again, he tries to bring a bunch of star players together and it just doesn't work out. We're no longer in that era where you can just bring a bunch of NBA stars together and just expect them to win. It's it's just not a thing anymore. But yeah, so I'm really interested to see what KD does, whether it's he'll stay with the team or maybe he'll leave to go to another team again to see if they could win. Very interested in that. And the last point I have for this series is, can the Suns fix this team? As I said, they can't do it with just D-Book, KD, and Bradley Beal because clearly that's not going to work. I don't know how much money they'll have in the offseason to spend, but hopefully they can get some role players because um, honestly, that's all they really need right now is just role players and bench players. They just need someone to help these 3 because they're not going to get the job done with just these 3 guys. As a reminder, the NBA, this is not a single player game. This is a team game, team effort, and you can't win unless you have another guy beside you. And I just feel like they don't have enough guys, to help them out. Clearly, I guess some people would say this wasn't really a big 3, but I thought it kind of was of how good Bradley Beal and all of them were. It's just they didn't work well together, and that's very disappointing to see. So I'm very interested in watching their off season. I don't think as of recording that they've done anything crazy yet. I know there's been news about them potentially firing their coach, which I don't understand why, because there's no reason for it. But yeah, overall, that's all I got to say about the Timberwolves and Suns series. Congrats to the Timberwolves. As of recording, they just finished game 2 against the Nuggets. It was yesterday. So congrats to them, and that might be a series we're definitely going to be interested in talking about because I don't know about these not the Suns. I don't know about the Nuggets because they're kind of worrying me right now. But who knows? Maybe after this recording they'll do better. But yeah, on to the next series. Now, moving on, we are now looking at the next series, which is the Oklahoma City Thunder versus the New Orleans Pelicans. So, on here, I have first off, I felt like this was a really unfair matchup. There was no Zion Williamson because he got injured, which is very unfortunate because he's only ever played one postseason game, and that was that play-in game where he did incredible. Just to point it out, he did great, but unfortunately, he just wasn't there to help the team. And I felt like that really cost the Pelicans because they just, you could tell that there's no way they were beating the Thunder. Even with Zion, I didn't think they were going to win, but at least they had a little bit of a better chance with him on the court. Without him, it was just sad. This was the second game that ended up being a sweep. So, yeah, the Pelicans just overall just looked really bad. As I said, the Thunder just has so many good players on the team from Shea, Jalen, Chet. I'm forgetting a lot of guys right now on that team. I don't remember everyone's names on the teams. I'm not very well. There's Josh Giddey. And there's this one guy. I can't remember his name right now. But it overall, the whole team as a whole is just great. I think they're going to be a very surprising team. With who they're facing in the second round, which is the Dallas Mavericks. We'll see what happens because again, I told you guys in my predictions for the NBA playoffs, I had the wild pick where I chose the Mavericks beating the Oklahoma City Thunder. to move on to the conference finals. So we'll see what happens if the Mavericks can do it. But this is a scary team nonetheless. So I wouldn't be surprised if they make the conference finals. And depending on how this series goes with the Timberwolves and Nuggets, they might make the NBA finals. But we'll have to see on that. Other things I put on here, I put, just Shea doing Shea things. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, there's a reason why he was in talks of winning MVP. I think he's actually one of the finalists for the MVP trophy right now. I don't think they've announced it yet. I'm sure they'll announce it probably today or tomorrow. It's probably very close. Probably they announced it by the time this video gets uploaded. But there's a reason why he's in talks for MVP. He's just a great player overall. I'm so happy to see how well he's doing. He's one of the couple guys in the NBA when it comes to young stars that makes me feel okay for the league when people like LeBron, Curry, KD, I don't know. Those are like the big ones, I'll say, for that era. Like how they're all just slowly getting older, and all of them are probably in the next, I would say, 3-4 years, are all gonna probably be out of the league. So it's just a relief to know that the NBA will be fine without them. Um, Obviously, I already mentioned they got swept to Pelicans 4-0. That was kind of crazy. For the Pelicans, I had 2 points I put down for them. The first one being, what do they do of Zion? This is another year where Zion missed the playoffs and was not able to help them. Obviously, it was of injuries, but that's just been a big problem with him, whether it's injuries or health issues, all the above. He has just been a problem for this team to the point that I don't know if he's even worth it anymore. Is he really worth all this stress to be on the Pelicans, even though he's not playing in the postseason? He played 1 game. That game I just mentioned already, that was his first time in the postseason. So what is there to do? Like, what exactly can they do to just help him? It's just really disappointing that he can't help this team. And the final thing I have on here is if we could see Brandon Ingram get traded this offseason. I've already heard some rumors that there's a chance they might try to keep Zion, and then they'll just have to trade Brandon Ingram because the Pelicans, again, this is all rumors. The Pelicans are saying that they feel like the duo with Brandon and Zion isn't really working out. So could we potentially see a trade with him? Or maybe we'll see a trade with Zion, who knows? But I know for certain that we're definitely going to see some changes when it comes to the New Orleans Pelicans and just how they're going to look next season. But yeah, overall, congrats to the Thunder. They're moving on to the next round. And obviously that sucks for the Pelicans getting swept. I don't really know what else to say to you besides sorry, I guess. Your season's over. But yeah, on to the next series. The next series that we will talk about here is the Denver Nuggets versus the Los Angeles Lakers. A very fun series overall to watch. The Nuggets obviously beat the Lakers 4-1. It looked like the Lakers were going to get swept, but they were able to win 1 game to at least make it a 5-game series. The first thing I'll talk about, obviously, is the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets look like they didn't even break a sweat. Like, they looked like they were out there just playing some playground basketball, not really worrying about what was going on. It didn't really seem like they were taking the Lakers seriously at all during this entire series. It seems like they were kind of just thinking about the next series, who they were going to face. And overall, I just think it was an amazing performance by the Nuggets. It was awesome to see. They did really good. Obviously, Jamal Murray is a little bit questionable because I know he was dealing with an injury, and it doesn't seem like he's fully recovered from it. It seems like that's still a problem of his, so hopefully he's not going to be too bad during the Timberwolves series because, as I told you guys, they just finished game 2, and it's not looking too good for Jamal. I don't know if he's going to get in trouble for what he did in game 2, throwing that. I think it was like a heat pat or whatever they said. Something for your body, like one of those like icy hot things, if I'm not mistaken. It was something weird he threw on the floor. I don't know if he'll get suspended. Some people said he will. Some people said he won't. But we'll have to see on that. I will say, though, about Jamal Murray when it came to this series is he definitely was very good to watch, and he definitely was him during this series because I think it was 2 games, if I'm not mistaken, 2, where he ended up having the buzzer beater shot and, winning the game. So that was really cool to see. The other thing is obviously Jokic, Nikola Jokic, doing Jokic things. He's amazing. There's a reason why he's the best player in the league right now. And he just doesn't surprise me with the things he does, because that's just what I expect from him. The other thing is, I wrote down on here is that we're about to witness cinema when it comes to the Nuggets and Timberwolves series, and I feel like that statement is still true. Now, I know, as I said, they're up 2-0 when it comes to the Nuggets and Timberwolves, but I feel like the Nuggets will easily be able to come back from that. The next couple things here I have is about really the Lakers, with the first one being, was this LeBron's last game as a Laker? If I am correct, LeBron now has the option to opt out of his contract, the last year of his contract, and be a free agent. And as we all know, he really wants to play with his son. That was the news of him wanting to play with his son for the last couple years. And I'm sure that's still a thing he would like to do. So it's going to be very interesting to see if he'll end up going wherever Bronny goes. Now, for those of you that don't know much about college, I don't know myself either that much, but I do know about Bronny. And Bronny was not very good in college, but for some reason he's still going into the draft. And with his name, I'm sure some teams might be interested in signing him. For the other reason being, again, now LeBron said he'll go to the team that he goes with, except for the Magic. I don't know the full story or the reason as to why, but he doesn't want to go to the Orlando Magic. Who knows? Maybe things will change and he will just end up maybe just going regardless just because he wants to play with his son. But I heard rumors. I'm going to say rumors for now because I don't know if it's even true, but I've heard rumors that he might not want to go to Orlando at all because of something that happened with them. But yeah, I'm very interested to see what his career unfolds and if this was potentially the last game we've ever seen by him. The next thing here is about D'Angelo Russell. He's getting traded. There's nowhere in any universe where D'Lo stays as a Laker. He has done terrible both playoffs back to back, and I don't think the Lakers are going to want someone like that cannot help AD and LeBron when they really need him the most. He was supposed to be that guy next to them that can help them when AD and LeBron are doing bad or they look like they got a lot of pressure on them, and he just did terrible. The other thing here is that they're going to need guys that can close. I feel like I said this to one of my friends that is a Lakers fan. I feel like this team as a whole, to describe them, is they are so great during the beginning of the games, but they just lose their engine going near the third quarter, the fourth quarter. They don't have guys that can close. They have guys that can start off great. They can get you shots, get you dunks. They look like they're going to win the game. But when it comes down to the fourth quarter, it looks like they've lost their speed, they lost their endurance, they just look fatigued, and you can't have players like that. Again, you can have a couple players that are along those lines, but you need players that can last either through the whole game. Like a comparison would be the New York Knicks with how they look, and I'll talk about them in a bit too. But they're a team that has so many players that, being coached under Tibbs, are playing like the whole game. So from the beginning of the game to the end of the game, they just look incredible. They need players that are like that. They need a Josh Hart. They need a Dante DiVincenzo. They need a player like that, and hopefully they can find some during the offseason. Because I think the Lakers are going to have a good amount of money left, because they're not going to have picks, so they can't rely on the draft. And knowing the Lakers and just how big of a franchise they are, I'm sure they can find some players to come over and help them. Another thing I will mention is about the Lakers coach. I actually wrote down on here, because this was before he got fired. I was writing all this stuff way beforehand. I said how the Lakers coach was potentially going to get fired, and literally the next day he got fired. And that's no surprise there, because he's the one coach where, what's his name? Darvin Ham, I think is his name. He was just bad. There's times when you can be like, no, it wasn't the coach's fault this time. It wasn't his fault. But this time around, it was Darvin Ham's fault. He was just terrible in coaching. Overall, just bad plays, bad moves. There were times when he didn't challenge something. There was times when he should have done a timeout and he didn't. It was just a horrible coaching throughout the whole year. Just bad. And the final point I'll say on here is, obviously, when it comes to the season overall, this was very disappointing for the Lakers. Especially how I also had them as a top 3 team heading into the West, because I just really overhyped them. I don't know why I did. Just something about that team made me feel like they could really do it. And yeah, they barely made the playoffs and just did bad. So yeah. That's all I got to say about this series. The next series is the Boston Celtics versus the Miami Heat. This game went on as a 5-series game where the Celtics beat the Heat 4-1. First off, I will say this is what I expected. Without Jimmy Butler, I didn't think the Heat were gonna do that great. I wasn't gonna be surprised if they even got swept, but they were able to win a game. And then Jimmy Butler posted a thing being like, "Oh, don't let us get one." And then after that post, they ended up losing 3 games in a row. So, and then I know Pat Riley, he had made a comment about this, saying if you're not on the court and you're not playing, you shouldn't say anything. So he's definitely mad about Jimmy Butler's comments and what he said. But overall, this was not a surprise. They didn't have Jimmy Butler, so I didn't think this series was going to be entertaining at all. Even with Jimmy, I didn't think they were going to win, but I felt like they could have done more than how they played. The other point I made on here was just the Celtics. They're very dominant. We've said it all season long. I've said it many times in many videos. The Celtics just look like an unstoppable team. I don't know who's really going to be able to beat them, if anyone does, in the West. Looking at the teams now that are left heading into the second round, you have 3 teams. The Cavs, who they're going to face in the second round, and then whoever wins in the series against the Pacers and the Knicks. Those are the 3 teams that one of them has to try to beat the Celtics in order to move on to the NBA Finals. So right now, if you look at it on paper, it seems like it's the Celtics to win. They're the only teams that I felt like that could really beat them is the Bucks or Philly, but the Bucks had unfortunately bad injuries, which we will also get to later on. But yeah, it just seems pretty easy for them. Other things I wrote down is I am a little worried when it comes to Porzingis. He's going to miss several games, so hopefully they can last without him. They have a great team, as I said, overall, so I feel like they could be able to withstand throughout most of, if not all of the second round, because I heard different news when it comes to Porzingis that he might miss the whole second round. He might only miss a couple games. So hopefully, he gets well soon and can continue on this run with the Celtics. What else did I write down? Oh, I wrote down 2 things for the Heat, because again, there wasn't really much to say about them. First one being, the Heat don't need to be too worried. I know their team overall, they'll be able to keep most of the guys heading into the next season, and obviously Jimmy Butler too. So I feel like they shouldn't worry too much. It was just a bad season overall. You didn't have Jimmy, so I feel like, there was just not much to be like, oh, like, this season's gonna be bad. We're gonna be a lottery team for the next couple years. It's like you don't need none of that. I'm sure they'll be completely fine and they'll be able to get the job done next season. I'm sure they'll be able to sign a guy and help turn this team around. And the last thing I said is just that it sucks Jimmy Butler got hurt. I already said a bunch of times they could have done a lot better if they had Jimmy, and he wasn't there. It was just very unfortunate, the injury he got, and I'm sure that really frustrated him. So yeah, just sucks, and that's all I gotta say. The next series here is the Indiana Pacers versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Probably the most surprising series out of all the series on here, simply because the Bucks lost. I don't think anybody, at least around my friend group on YouTube, I don't think anyone had the Pacers winning this series. I'll start off by saying this when it comes to the Pacers. Congrats to the Pacers for, winning this series. Obviously they took advantage of it because both Giannis and Dame were injured, and I don't remember how Giannis got injured, but if I'm not mistaken, I think he missed the entire series. Or he might have played 1 game, but that was really it. Dame was able to play a game or 2, but he also had a bad injury on him. So that really sucked. The Pacers team is great. They're a great team overall. They're very fast-paced. They have a lot of guys that could easily step up and be the next guy to drop like 20 points if they need it. Obi Toppin, of course, as you guys know, I have the jersey around here somewhere. Right here. As you can see, I have my Toppin jersey right there. Obi Toppin will always have a special place in my heart when it comes to him as a player. He did really, really good, and obviously I'm happy that I'll be able to see him go up against the Knicks and the Pacers, which that game also happened as well. Game 1, crazy game 1. The Knicks just keep having crazy game after crazy game. Now, I will admit there was a couple calls that were a little bit skeptical when it comes to the Knicks and the Pacers, especially a call that went in the Knicks' favor. I'm sure you know which call I'm talking about, but hey, it happens. NBA refs, they just say calls that are just very questionable, and it just happened. It happened to us many times during the season, and it's happened to everybody. And it's very frustrating, but there's only so much you can do. Now, when you look at it by the book, I'm sure that play would have been called, what was it, a moving screen, I think it was. That would have been called a moving screen any other day. But I feel like during the playoffs, they really shouldn't have blown the whistle for that. And it was just a really costly turnover. So, but, we don't need to get into that right now. The next thing I have on here is about the Bucks, with the first point being that the season overall was just bad. You started off bad with like the first 10 games, and then you went on to be really good, and then you fired your coach that was helping you be really good, even though it was his first year. But apparently there was problems backstage with the franchise and stuff behind the scenes, that they just decided that Adrian Griffin was just not the coach for them. And then you went on to just do bad again. You had injuries, so it clearly was not a good year for them. Unlucky timing, as I said, for injuries. Again, that was just really unlucky that both Giannis and Dame both got hurt, because they played a good amount of games. Obviously, I think they both played like 70 something games, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, overall it was just bad. Let's see. The last point I made is, will the Bucks make big changes? Giannis, obviously, he already signed a contract with them because of getting Damian Lillard. But will Giannis demand some changes with the team? I feel like the team really is going to need something changed in order for the team to be really good again. Again, if you look at it, when it comes to the standings, they only lost the third seed simply by one game off. So maybe they'll just keep the team and try to run it back next year. But I feel like something needs to change. In my opinion, I think it's the coach. I told you guys many times, I think Doc Rivers is an overrated coach. Is he a good coach? Yes, but he's not a great coach that people are trying to claim him to be. He got that one ring with the 2008, I think it was the 2008, the Boston Celtics, and now everyone thinks he's crazy, which I can make a whole argument on that, but I'm pretty sure I've already made this argument in previous videos, and I'm not going to do it again. I just want to know if changes will be made. I think they'll make at least a big change or two, just because I'm sure the front office is going to be worried that Giannis might demand a trade, and they're just trying to keep him happy. So we'll see what happens. The next series is probably going to be my favorite to talk about, and it's because it is the series with the New York Knicks against the Philadelphia 76ers. So, first thing I put on here is laughing at Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid, terrible player. You're a dirty player. I don't care what anyone else says watching this video. The things that Joel Embiid did during this series, in my opinion, is unforgivable, and I can't see him as a great player because of it. He really tried so many times to hurt our players. He did these moves that were so unnecessary. He ended up hurting a lot of our players. One of them now has to get season-ending surgery, and it's just disappointing to see. Obviously the Knicks, they're tough, they're amazing, and they were able to get the job done. They fought hard, even though they had some terrible injuries. Like, I think I'm gonna put it on screen. On screen right now, you're gonna see how I see the New York Knicks. Like, that's basically what this Knicks roster looks like heading into the Pacers series, which I feel like looked like that even during the first game, and it was not a very pretty first game. But I already said it. It was interesting, that first game. This series was the series that I was talking about in the beginning of this video, that I said will probably go down as one of the best playoff series the NBA has ever seen. It was just a gritty, hard fought, a lot of crazy moves, crazy injuries, crazy plays. Just overall a fun series to watch. I don't know any NBA fan besides, if we look past the Knicks fans, the Sixers fans, I don't know any other fan base in the league right now that didn't say that this series was not fun. This series overall was entertaining. It's a series that I feel like many people could go back on years down the line and would still love to watch. It was just fun. I don't know what else to say. Just fun match between these two. Every single game was very, very close. I don't think there was a single game in this series where the team won over 10 points. Every game was so close. I don't even think there was even a game where the team won maybe over 8 points or something. I would have to look back on the score myself, but it was just that close, the series. And it's just incredible by the Knicks. Incredible. What else did I put here? And this is another point when it comes to how great the series was. There was a stat that ended up getting posted that I saw on one of these Twitter accounts that I follow for basketball. Again, I only really use it for basketball. It said that this series overall, the Knicks, when it came to total points, the Knicks had 650 points total throughout all the 6 games. And the Philadelphia 76ers had 649. This series was determined by a 1-point difference. 1-point difference. And I'm saying the reason why this is so important is because of a very important player on the Sixers team that is supposed to be important, but did not get the job done in the last game. And I'm looking at you, Tobias Harris. You had 0 points. 0. All of us fans, people watching that video, people watching me, myself, my family, we are all doing the same thing Tobias Harris just did in Game 6, and we're not getting paid that much money. That was just a horrendous, I think overall, a horrendous game series by Tobias Harris. You're getting paid so much money and you did nothing. You just did cardio out there. It was just ridiculous to see, and I'm very disappointed with Tobias Harris because he's a player that I do like, but if you're gonna be showing up like that in a game that's very important, how can we keep you as a Sixer? It was crazy. Tyrese Maxey, this is one thing I'll say for the 76ers, because I know they're all sad right now about the series, losing, but I'll say this about your team. You guys don't have to worry when it comes to the next potential star, because I think Tyrese Maxey will end up being that next star for you guys. He's such an incredible player. He's another guy when it comes to the young talent in this league, the next generation, as to why I'm okay when LeBron and them leave. The other thing I wrote down on here is the process officially over? I feel like this was the series, when you look at it, where the front office has to look at each other and say, should we move on past Joel Embiid? Now, what I mean by that is there's 2 different ways they could go about it. The first way they could go about it is they could just keep Joel on the team, but focus more on Maxey being the number 1 guy and, getting players that are around him. The second one I have is just straight up trading Joel Embiid for pieces back to help Tyrese Maxey. You guys, for I think over a decade at this point, have been doing this thing called the process and believing in Joel Embiid and believe he's the guy that's going to take you to the promised lands and get you a championship. Since he's been here, you guys haven't even gone past the second round. The second round. It's not like you've been to the conference finals or you've been to the NBA finals once. You have never been there in any kind of finals, whether it's the conference or NBA finals. I don't know how you still look at this guy and say, yeah, he's the guy that's going to help us. And I already said it, I feel like he's a dirty player. He's a bad player. He's just doing things that I feel like are unnecessary. And not Game 6, but Game 5, if it wasn't for Tyrese Maxey, they would have lost. Joel Embiid had probably the worst game ever seen by him when it comes to either this series or just the playoffs as a whole in his playoff history. He just looked bad, and he looked like he was ready to leave, go on vacation. Now, Game 6, he tried a little bit more, but it just still wasn't enough. And you can make the argument with the Knicks and just how great they were, but again, I feel like we're just wasting our time now with this process idea. It's over. I feel like we should focus now on the next guy, which is Tyrese Maxey. But again, I'm not the front office, so they can make their decisions, but I just feel like the process, in my eyes, is officially done. Now, the next couple points here I have is for the Knicks. I only have 3, really. First one being Knicks for them to rest up, because, heading into the Pacers series, well, obviously before Game 1, again, I wrote all of this before the second round games. It they just need a rest stop, man. I really hope they can get their energy back and can withstand the Pacers. The Pacers are a very fast team overall, so that is my only complaint. Not, I shouldn't say complaint. I should say my only worry with the Knicks is I don't know if they'll be able to keep up, especially after that grueling first round they had with the 76ers. The next thing I said on here was a phenomenal job by Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson, I don't care what anybody says. All those people in NBA on their shows on TNT, that one female college coach of how she said Jalen Brunson wasn't the dude. He wasn't the 1A guy. Everyone that's been complaining about Jalen Brunson, whether he's saying he's too short, he's not the number one guy, he's getting overpaid, whatever you want to say about him, I do not care. Jalen Brunson is one of the best players, arguably the best Knicks player we have ever seen on this team. He is doing incredible stuff that he really shouldn't be doing at his height. And it's just awesome. Like, I know he was leading when it came to points in the paint. He had incredible threes. He was getting knocked down left and right during that Sixers series and still got back up and still dropped 35, 40 points against this team. It was awesome. It was awesome to see. I'm so happy with Jalen Brunson. I really, really hope he can help this team get at least one. I don't know if it'll be this year, next year, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. I hope Jalen Brunson can get us at least one championship in New York because he deserves it after the way he has played these first 2 years. I don't even care if for some reason these are the last 2 years Jalen Brunson plays with us as a Knick. I feel like this is the greatest 2 years we've ever seen from a player. Phenomenal job. He has overachieved more than I think people want to really admit, because even if they lose the second round, he has just done phenomenal, and I'm really happy to see the stuff he's done. And the final thing on here is just Indiana. After game 1, after seeing that, we're coming for you. Knicks in 4. The second to last series that I'll be talking about on here is the Dallas Mavericks versus the Los Angeles Clippers. This series ended up having the Mavericks beat the Clippers 4-2. Overall, Luka for MVP. Luka has shown time and time again why he's the MVP and why I've told you guys throughout this whole season why he's my pick to win. Kyrie, I feel like Kyrie, this was the missing piece that the Mavericks needed. Kyrie was the final piece that he needed, and he's worked incredible alongside Luka. And I feel like Kyrie has finally found the team he can call home. I don't see why Kyrie wouldn't stay with this team. I don't see why the Mavericks would trade him. They've done phenomenal, and I'm rooting for them in the second round. This is probably the best team Luka has ever had in his career. I might be over-exaggerating, but if you look back on it, I feel like this has the chance to be the best team he's ever been surrounded by. I feel like that was the problem Luka was facing, is he was a great player, but he just never had guys alongside him that could help him win a championship. I feel like this is the team. Now, do I think they'll win this year? No, I don't even think they'll win. I would be shocked if my prediction comes right if they make the conference finals, but who knows? You know, we've already seen some surprises headed into this year's playoffs. But I think this is the best team he's ever had. Looking at the Clippers now, Kawhi was hurt again. I think Kawhi played like 1 or 2 games during this series, but he was hurt again. And that was just disappointing to see. The Clippers, once again, they failed, and I see them still as the laughingstock when it comes to the NBA. I still think that, they're clowns. They think they're all this and all that. Now, I did make a video where I was like, oh, I think the Clippers could be champions, and I'll never do that again. I will never make a video about them ever again. I trusted you guys. I thought you could prove me wrong. I was really, what's the word? I was really hopeful for you guys that you can prove me wrong and show that Paul, Kawhi, and Harden could work, but it didn't work, and you lost my trust. I will never make a video. I just voice cracked. I will never make a video about you again. Anyways, that was potentially the last time that the Clippers, my apologies. That was the last time the Clippers played in the Crypto.com arena, because I know they're having a new arena next season, I don't know if he'll be ready next season, but I know it's something they are planning to do. So yeah, that was potentially, if not, it was the last game we saw the Clippers play in their stadium. So that sucked. Uh, Another thing I have for the Clippers is, will Harden leave again? Is Harden going to leave the Clippers? Because we know Harden has been leaving teams because he wants to go in a team that he knows will for sure guarantee him a championship. Now, there's a chance he will. There's a chance he might leave, but there's also the possibility where I'm like 80% sure he'll stay with the Clippers, just because one of the other reasons why he went to the Los Angeles Clippers is because he feels like this is the team that could give him that last max contract that he's looking for. So again, 80% sure he's going to stay with the team, but there's still that 20% where I feel like Harden's just going to leave again. What else I got on here? The other thing I said was, will the Clippers call it quits? Is it time for this duo of Kawhi and Paul George to end and move on, to whatever's next? Is it time to trade people? What are they going to do? What is it? What are the plans heading into the offseason for the Clippers? Because clearly, time after time, this is not working. Kawhi keeps getting hurt every single playoffs. Then it's just Paul George by himself. And I don't know. Of course, also they have Russell Westbrook, which I'm going to be honest, I didn't really watch much of that series when it came to the Mavericks and Clippers. So I don't even know if Westbrook was good or not. It's just overall disappointing by the Clippers. Just, I don't know what they're going to do. But looking at the Mavericks, last thing I'll end off with is, as I said, hopefully my prediction comes right. They somehow beat the Thunder and move on to the conference finals. So I'll be rooting for you guys in the conference. Congrats to the Mavericks. Luke and Kyrie are probably one of the best duos in the league right now. Derek Lively has become great, as I predicted. And yeah, just good for them. Now, on to the last series of the first round. So, the final series when it comes to round one of the 2024 NBA playoffs is the Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Orlando Magic. This went on to be a 7-game series, which I did predict, but unfortunately, the team I predicted didn't win. And the Cavaliers ended up being the Orlando Magic 4-3. So, congrats to the Cavaliers moving on to the next round. First thing I put on here is this series went on from starting off as a very boring series to a very interesting one. Probably not the most interesting series, because there's definitely other series you can point that to, but it definitely was fun. I had fun seeing the last couple games and the Magic trying to win. It sucked they weren't able to get the job done, but it's awesome to see the potential that they have as a team and what we could potentially see next season. I think, hey, we didn't think the Timberwolves were going to be like this after what happened last season, and they jumped up and became a top 2 team in the West. So maybe the Magic will do the same thing. They have a lot of good players. I'm a little bit questionable with Franz Wagner, if they want to keep him or not. He was a little bit not that great, so maybe they could try to trade him and put someone else beside Paulo. But I feel like they won't do that just yet, but that'll probably be something they do later down the line if maybe another year or two he does bad in the playoffs. I was happy to see a Game 7 series. I really wanted to see one, and we had a couple times where it was going to happen, but it just didn't, and we finally got to see at least one series, so that was cool. The Magic fought hard, I said, and as I said already, will definitely be a problem next season. We just also have to congratulate the Cavaliers because they didn't get eliminated in the first round. That was my worry, is if they did get eliminated in the first round, what will the team look like? I felt like if they did get eliminated, Donovan might have left. Of course, there's still that possibility he will leave after the playoffs when their season is over, but I felt like that team was really going to blow up and things were going to change. Now, there's still a possibility of that happening, depending on how the series goes with the Celtics. And just to give my prediction, it is not going to go very well for the Cavaliers. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. And then I said Donovan Mitchell has proven why he's just awesome. He's such a good player, and I said it before many times. As a Knicks fan, it just sucks that we have to watch him play so great, because he's definitely a player we would have loved to have on this team, especially right now with how hard it has been for these players. Having him would have just made this so much easier for us. And as I said, the final point I put on for the Cavaliers is just pray for them. They're going to face off against the Celtics. I don't think they're going to win that series whatsoever. Hopefully they can get one win, but yeah, the Cavaliers are pretty much cooked. But after looking at all that, that's really the end of my video. Now, I know this was a long video. It's probably going to be like 30 to 40 minutes. So, apologize for the long video, but I wanted to make sure I said everything I wanted to say about all the series here in the first round. Of course, I will definitely do another review after round 2, so we'll see how that goes. So far, it's been great with the Timberwolves and Nuggets series, and the Knicks and Pacers was a fun game 1. But when it came to round 1 overall, I think I'm going to give this round 1 probably, I'll say an 8 out of 10. We got to see two teams get swept. We saw a game 7. We saw one of the best series ever with the Knicks and 76ers. But we also saw some series like the Clippers, which I felt like was just disappointing how that series went for them. And someone like the Bucks, where it was very disappointing seeing how they went down. So there was just some series there where it was just sad to see. And the Heat as well. Heat and Celtics was a sad series to watch. So I can't rank it too high. But I feel like with the amount of fun games that there were for the rest of the series, I'll at least give them an 8 out of 10. But yeah, as I said, that's the end of this video. I hope you all enjoyed. Please make sure to like, comment, and share this video with others if you found it interesting. We are on the road to 500 subscribers. I'm trying to get that either before or during the summer. So hopefully you guys can help me out with that. And of course, our year-end goal is to get at least 1,000 subscribers. So yeah, make sure to subscribe and help me out with that. But as always, I am your host, Jeremy. This is the What's Next in Basketball YouTube channel, and I'm signing off for the day. Have a great day, everybody.